official debut, did you want it to be a theme, or was it kind of like everyday thing that would happen? You kind of write it down and figure it out. What was kind of going through your head, songwriting wise?
Um, Songwriting wise, I just try to approach it however the songs flowed out. Like let the music, I usually let the music dictate the words, and then whatever words come out, they coming, they're coming from some type of inspired place. So it usually works out that what comes out is what I'm going through, at the time, or if it's not, it's something that I'm thinking about. Like it's a part of my life I'm thinking about. So there was no strategy in terms of um, subject matter. I was, it's funny though. I didn't have that album title the whole time, the sideline story, but it's funny that it really worked out. Like that was that phase of my life. It really was the sideline story. It was like trying to get off the bench. So it wasn't like this genius thing that I had already mapped out. It just kind of happened like that. Yeah.
How does it feel? Obviously a lot of critics gave you pretty good reviews, and people feel the album. How does it feel to see people resonate with the music
Yeah,
that way?
it's dope, man. That's the goal. It's always the goal is to make something that people love, that people can play for a long time. I think we did that. Um, that's always the goal. And I feel like your album is really, you can base your album off that. When you first purchase it, how do you feel? And then 6 months later, how do you feel? And a year later, how do you feel? And then years later, how do you feel? So, I feel like people are still just now figuring out, like, oh man, I really like this song. I slept on this song when it first came out, but now I love it. Or, I liked this song when it first came out, but now I'm kind of over it. So I feel like music works like that. And only time can tell, like, the true value. I could still put in Fuji's album today, or Lauryn Hill album today, or Kanye today, and I get the same feeling. So I think time really tells you.
I know on your like you're self-produced. I know you produce a lot of your own stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we look at rap albums now, and it's just like a whole bunch of different kind of people producing stuff.
Yeah.
How important was it for you to have that much effect on the production part?
It was real important because when it comes to production, I've been producing my own song. The first song I ever recorded, I was 15 years old. I made the beat, and then the next song, and then all the way up until I got my deal, I was producing my own music. There was only a couple songs that I hadn't, that weren't mine, and Science produced a couple of those, and then the other one was In the Morning. So there was only really a couple songs I had done that weren't over my production. So to me, it was important to come out the gate on my first album and display that. Like I didn't want to change. I'm sure 2 albums from now, 3 albums from now, maybe next, who knows? There'll be an album where I barely produce, but at least coming out the gate, showcasing my talent, I think that was important. You know what I'm saying? To bridge, the old me and how I used to work, and now that I got the deal, I felt like that was important to produce the album.
Who are some of the producers that you're kind of fascinated by? Not even if you, not to say that if you want to work with them, but just like, that you feel that kind of get it.
Producers that I'm fascinated by. Timbaland, man, is like, that guy is, he's the most incredible producer. Like, not even just hip hop, just any genre. Just how many times he's reinvented himself and changed the sound of music, period. Timbaland, and just how sonically incredible his sounds are, and his drums, and his patterns. Timbaland I'm super fascinated by. I can't wait to work with him and really just pick his brain. Kanye West, just the fact that he never followed rules. You know what I'm saying? Ever followed any rules. Drums was dirty and filthy and disgusting and sample, but still would make that popular and still make that mainstream. Kanye, No ID, and his drums. He showed me a lot as a producer. So there's a lot of people that I just look up to and admire. Dr. Dre, a lot of people.
You're talking about working with Timbaland. I know at least you got to work with, or wanting to work with Timbaland, you got to work with Missy.
Yeah.
What is that like? I mean, people are obviously still waiting to see what new album, what new music she's putting out.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I can't wait for her new album, by the way. I just feel like she's the same. She's the artist version of Timbaland. Like so many flows and styles, and she's not afraid to try anything new. And I'm glad it worked out the way it did with the song Nobody's Perfect, because I always wanted to work with her, and even like a year before we did that song, I tried. Like I knew somebody that was kind of working her project or something. I was like, yo, set it up. It never happened. And I don't think I really went that hard, but I really wanted to do it. I was just so consumed with singles and get my, you know. And the way it happened was the last week I had to record my album. I had just got back from Barbados, and I did Mr. Nice Watch, the song Jay-Z ended up getting on a Wednesday. And then on that Thursday, I made the beat and wrote Nobody's Perfect. And when I came up with the hook, I was like, oh, like Missy popped in my mind. And the fact that I could make that happen in such a short notice, and she did it for me, it was crazy. So I really would love to do more work with her. You know, I'd love to be on her album and produce for her and just get in the studio with her for real. I'm just a big Missy fan.
Is that the next single?
Yeah, that's the next single, Nobody's Perfect,
So
after Can't Get Enough.
Okay. Y'all doing the video?
Yeah, we shooting a video 2 weeks from now. Yeah.
What so kind of tell us the story. When did you get signed, the record deal?
I signed my record deal February of 2009. Yeah, February 2009 I signed my deal.
How did the deal come about?
The deal came from, before that I had met Jay in November. It was right when Obama got elected. It was right around that time, so it was November of 2008, because I remember having that conversation. And I even got set up with Jay through Mark Pitts, who's my manager. He played him a song I got called Lights Please, which was like, he was like, yo, let me meet this kid. So I came in, played him a few songs, we talked, had a good talk. It was really more talking than listening to songs. I guess he was already sold, you know, so the rest was just conversation. So it was a good vibe. I had a good feeling about it. Then a few weeks later, I found out he actually did want to do the deal. So it took a couple months to, you know, for the paperwork and all that.
He's obviously, you know, probably the most respected man in hip hop.
Yeah.
What would you say from the time you've been working with him, you've learned from him?
That I've learned from a lot of things. He gives like, Jay gives like the best advice, I would say, but the most advice. Like, so in one sitting with him, he'll say so much incredible things, you know, but he says them like it's nothing. Like he just spills out, you know, advice or wisdom or whatever. And I almost wish I had a tape recorder. You know what I'm saying? So I could play it back, because he drops, that's how many like jewels he drops. And you could just tell it's somebody that's been in the game for so long and seen it all happen. So, I mean, I could tell you some of the things, but it's really a bulk of information. One of my favorite ones is just this analogy he gave where, like, this was early in my album process, and he was just like, yo, he was like, when you first starting out, it's good to not know everything. You know what I'm saying? He was like, he made the analogy that when you're first starting, it's almost like you're trying to get across a room, make it across a room, but the room is pitch black. And when you finally get to the other side of the room and you flick on the light, you look back and you realize that there was snakes over here, there was a hole over there that you could have hit. There was a lot of things but because you were following your heart, you made the right decisions. But if you would have seen those things, maybe you wouldn't have went. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. I thought that was a cool analogy.
I interviewed him last month, and we were talking about you, and he was saying, I was like, you know, it was nice that he got the Best New Artist Grammy nomination.
Yeah.
It was like, nah, he's already won, just because it's been a process getting your album out, making sure it worked.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of stressing artist development and how, you know, you could sign somebody and he could have put your album out 2 days after.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have worked. Talk about that process of making sure, like, not just, you know, you could have buzz and then not responding to it quickly. And
Yeah.
making sure you think it out.
Yeah, so he's absolutely right. And one thing I appreciate about Jay is he let me do it my way and let me figure it out. Of course, he would give me the motivation and the inspiration in his way. Like, he used to send me texts like, come on, man. Like, come on. I just need one. You know what I'm saying? Which was like, I'm looking at the text like, oh, God, like, don't you know I'm trying? You know what I'm saying? Like, but I appreciate him because other than that, he never compromised or interfered with my creative process. You know what I'm saying? There's never a point where he felt like, all right, I need to come in and play big brother and show you how to do this. He let me figure it out. And it feels better to win like that. It feels better winning knowing that, yo, like I figured this thing out on my own. And if it wouldn't have worked, I would have been okay with bumping my head and failing on my own terms rather than winning on somebody else's. You know what I'm saying? So I really respect him because I guess he saw that's the type of artist I was. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a control freak, but through this process I also learned to take advice from a Jay-Z or from, it ain't just Jay-Z over there. Rock Nation is full of incredible music industry people. So like I'm learning how to take these people's great advice, and you know, so that's one thing I learned through the process, and I appreciate them for letting me do it my way. Yeah.
You talk about the best new artist Grammy nomination, which is, you know, a big deal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think it's cool too because there are 2 rap artists nominated, and
yeah.
Usually it's like a
usually they give you like the token rap.
Yeah.
Nah, yeah.
He's kind of the hottest
yeah.
for the years, but sold the most. So what's it like to get that kind of rap? I mean, I know the album came out just in enough time.
Yeah. By the way, that's that was one thing around the time of workout or whatever when I was like, yo, this is a single. Come on, let's go. Like, we got to move. And everybody at the label knew we had to move, just like I knew, but I was like, this is the one, let's go. It was because I was telling my management and telling the label, like, yo, I have to beat the Grammy deadline. Like, I got to do it. Like, if I don't put my album out before the Grammy deadline, which I knew. If you look at the date, my album came out like 2 days before the Grammy deadline. And it's because I knew, like, yo, I got a shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought my album was that good, and I thought maybe, you know. But then the crazy thing is, even though I thought that, when it was time for the Grammys announcement for the nominations to come out, I really, truly had already given up. Like, I was like, nah. Like, it didn't feel right. You know, I didn't think they saw. I didn't think anybody really noticed or whatever, but they did. So that's just an honor, man, you know, to even be on that list. Nicki's on that list. You know what I'm saying? To have 2 hip-hop artists on that list says a lot about hip-hop right now. You know what I'm saying? And even Skrillex, who's a DJ, and, you know, I know it's more of electronic style music, but the art of DJing comes from hip-hop. So that's crazy to look at that list and see how much hip-hop influence is on, you know, just best new artists.